Everybody, I'm Felicia from Better You, Better Mom. Welcome everybody. Today we are glad and honored to have Cheesiah. She's a marriage and parent coach. The topic today will be on 4 deadly sins that kill intimacy in marriage. Before that, I just like to share with you our profile here, just quickly, just a short intro. Okay, let me just share my screen. Hang on. Okay, as you can see, yeah. Um, I'm Felicia, also the author and speaker and fulfillment coach. My short journey was that I actually miscarried twice, losing 3 angel baby, and subsequently welcoming my rainbow baby in June 2015. So as you can imagine, the journey is full of challenges, and there's always doubts in the journey, wondering, will you ever have a child at the end of the day, and what are the challenge or journey waitings. But the question is also how we overcome, what's the mindset that we are looking at to move forward, and to know that, at the end of the day, how do you want to face your journey or even live your journey to what we call fulfillment life. And to every other people, a fulfillment life means different thing, right? So likewise for Cheesiah Chang, she strongly believes that a strong marriage is the foundation of the family that provides a safe ground to nurture, empower children to be the best version of themselves. She has more than 23 years of working with marriage and parenting as a counselor and as a coach. Okay, without further ado, let's welcome Cheesiah.
Hi, so good to be on your platform.
Yes, hi. Finally, we get to meet on live,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
Actually we met offline first and then we met online, but we knew each
yes. I think
other.
yeah, as we were talking just now, Cheesiah, I know her through Facebook for quite a while, but we somehow didn't connect. But despite now we finally managed to meet even after COVID. I'm thankful that I can know her personally as well, right? And I'm glad that we do connect. So that's why inviting her today to share with us. Maybe you would just like to share with the audience
Yeah.
more about your background and the work that you are doing, and probably how do you even get into this industry.
Well, that's a long story. Uh, well, I guess I started out as a counselor, and when I came back, I was educated overseas. So when I came back to Singapore, uh, 20 odd years ago, I was put in a role as a senior counselor, not by experience, but by credential, right? So that time, actually, I started to take on the difficult cases in working with couples, is marriage cases, right? I think marriage is something that when you go to the self-help book, they will tell you, do this, do that, and then you would do it and it doesn't work. And I think I had done some damage to some of the couples that I worked with. I mean, just talk to your husband
Oops.
lah, just talk like this, but at the end, like after they talk, nothing happened or it got worse, right? But as I progressed, I got involved in different areas of work with parenting. I was involved in the prison counseling as well, involved in school students. Um, so I was exposed to different areas of counseling, and then subsequently I focused a lot more on parenting. It just happened that that season of my career, there were just a lot more parenting issues, right? So when the kids came around, I have three. My eldest came to us through adoption. So within 1 week, we went from no kids to one kid, and then I got pregnant. So my second child is a miracle baby, and then I got pregnant again. Right. So they say buy one get one free, and then subsequently I buy one get two free. Right. So we went from no kids to three kids in the span of 7 years. Yeah. We actually different with the dual income no kids group couple, right? So that was a huge change. So I took some time off, work, stayed at home to be with the kids. And then when I came back to work, I just found that working with families, um, I still love to work with families, but working with families in the professional space involved a lot of weekends and weeknights, because families most of the time they are only available. So I switched over to corporate training. Uh, so the counseling and parenting space has always been the side thing for a while. Yeah, and until in the recent years, I decided that I wanted to pick up a little bit more. Yeah. So I come from a very specific space in the parenting because of my own experience in raising my adopted child. So
Yes, definitely.
yeah, so she was a she was a very easy child to manage initially, but subsequently, met
How
with,
old is she when you adopted her? May I ask?
she was 2.5 months old when she joined us.
Okay.
Yeah, and 2.5 months, and then yeah, and then my birth child arrived like a year later. Um, so the biggest shift really in the parenting space was about is about understanding the child's emotion, not just about managing the behavior, right? So that has been a huge transition in terms of even when I work with parents, it's a lot about how do we understand a child's behavior, about what the behavior is telling us about what the child needs, right? Instead of just focusing on the misbehavior and correcting the child based on the behavior. So that's a space I have been working on. And as I work more with more and parents begin to realize a lot of the time the misbehavior or the issues uh, look back to the family. And then when you talk about the family, a lot of times it looks back to the couple relationship,
Parents.
about mom and dad not getting along. So again, back on the marriage space. Right? So this is where I am right now. That's how I end up doing marriage and parenting. I find that they do need to come hand in hand. When we want to provide that best environment for our children. So long story to a kind of why I do what I do.
Yep.
So yeah. So
Yep.
my drive is really to be able to raise the next generation of kids who are emotionally healthy, right? And the only way we can do that is that we provide an emotionally healthy space for our kids at home. Mm,
Yep. I think
yeah.
you bring up a lot of points from having an adopted child and subsequently your own children,
Yeah.
biological children, and
Mm,
subsequently, yes, as you mentioned, to coach them, then you realize, sad to say, indirectly, parents are the issue too, lah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
then the question
They
is,
are. It's directly.
yes, that's
Right.
right.
It's
Yeah,
directly
I
the
don't want
issue.
to admit it's directly, lah.
It's
Okay, so I
directly.
say it's indirectly,
Yeah.
but yeah. So the question is, how do you help coach the parents?
Mm,
Because the truth is, we don't want to say we are the fault, right?
yeah.
And then having said so, of course, being the couple,
Mm,
one will blame the other and vice versa as well, right? So I think
absolutely.
the challenges is also how do you let them recognize that, hey, hello, actually the problem come from you, to even admit that issue, brother.
Yeah. So at this point in time, I find that the clients that tend to come to me are those who already are at a certain stage of their relationship with the child, that they have tried everything and it's not working, and that
Mm,
they see that their relationship is going downhill. So it is if you kind of take the example of being sick. This is like stage 3 cancer, right? So when I see clients on a one-on-one basis, most of the time it is because the relationship has already gone to the point where the parents are feeling that they can, like, if they don't do something, they will lose the child, right? Or they lose the relationship. So then this group of parents tend to be a lot more open to acknowledge that they need to do something because they have tried everything, right? So with that group, it's a little bit easier because they already have an issue to work with. So the more bigger space in terms of the general parenting space, really my question is that how what is the outcome of the parenting journey that you want to achieve, right? Is about looking at starting with an end in mind, right? What kind of environment do you want your child to grow in? What kind of challenges and struggles that you are currently facing with the child, and is the way that you're managing your child going to lead to what you wish to develop in the child? Right. So actually, I'll be doing a talk on give a voice, which is in September. No, not September. Sorry, March. And so
much.
there is a platform or campaign to talk about physical punishment, right, of child, and is there a better way? to
This is
discipline their
another
child.
highly debated topic.
Yes, yeah, and I have a very strong stand on it. Okay,
Yeah, Google,
yeah,
post the details on the chat to let
yeah,
the audience see as well. Yeah,
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 actually,
I think that will be helpful as well. I think really that's always the common asked question as well.
yes, like spare the rod, spare the child kind of situation,
Yep.
right?
Should you or
Yeah,
should you not is also the question. Yeah,
yes,
yeah. But
yeah.
having in your whole span of the 23 years of working with parents, what was the most common issues that you see between parents, rather?
The between parents or parent and child?
Between parents first, then subsequently, of course, the parent and child.
Between parents, most of the time the issues already exist before the child comes along, right? So
Mm.
the marital unit them itself may already not be stable, right?
Um,
And so there may be already some hidden tension or hidden conflict that they are not talking about it. But when the child comes into the picture, it becomes very personal, right? So all these differences begin to surface even more.
so
Right?
can I say that the children really amplify the issue here
Yeah,
in that sense?
absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit like during COVID time, right? They say that when now that when the whole family is home, then the conflicts begin, right? So we're just saying, most more likely than not, the family being together surface what's already been there all the while. That now you have no room to run, you got no
Right.
other places to run, right?
True, true.
Yeah. So some of the very common issues is really about the couple not having their emotional needs met in the first place, right? And or they already have a certain negative way of interacting with each other, which I'm going to be talking about later, the four deadly sins, when how couple interact with each other, right? So in that space, when they are able to interact with each other well, right, even before the kids come along, it the child definitely adds further stress to the relationship, especially when you have a difficult child, when the child is not eating well, not sleeping well, or the child is grouchy, or even Lina's case when you have like five kids, right? One of our one of our participants here, it puts a strain on the relationship, right? So it is sometimes not so much about the issue, it is about how we go about talking about the issue that makes a difference, right? So for different couple, it could be different things, but it's really in the issues that you have difficulty talking about. How do you talk about it in a constructive way? Yeah, so that you hear each other, so that you understand where each other is coming from. Then there is that desire, that intention to want to resolve this. Or if it is not an issue that can be resolved, then how do you work it out? How do you manage it along the way? Right. So this is where I work with couples in the couple conversation space, where it is a very structured way of just working with couples, to help them work through their issues in a constructive way. Right. Yeah. So they do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely do understand that. I mean, ideally, as a couple, as a family unit, we don't want to show the uglier side in front of your children. But of
Mm,
course, having said so, yes, you do have some negative emotion towards your spouse. Then the question is, yeah, how do you really resolve that emotions? When especially like what you mentioned, we are always in the family, and how to But of course, having said so, yes, you do have some. Okay, hold on. I think towards your spouse.
mm.
Someone is not mute probably.
Yeah.
Can you hear my question just now?
Sorry, I think I missed the last part.
Okay,
Was it just yeah.
okay, so the thing is, because we, like what you mentioned, in the pandemic, we are always in the closed space, and
Mm,
definitely we have frictions with couples and with the other partner. But having said so, we also know, I mean, as parents, we know we don't want to show the negative emotions in front of our children.
mm.
But how do we resolve that resentment within the partners, and especially we are in the so-called closed environment in the house all day long?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so when we have emotions, right, especially is an issue that we are dealing with, and is an issue that we're dealing with our spouse. I'm not saying that we do not talk about these issues in front of the children.
Yes.
right? So what I'm saying is, however you are resolving or talking about this particular issue with your partner in front of your kids, is that model of resolving issue something that you want your kids to emulate, right? Because your child is watching the two of you, how to resolve conflict, how to handle emotions, how
Okay.
to, what to do and what not to do, right?
I think
Yeah,
this
your
part
child
will
is
be
watching
very
it.
interesting.
Your child's watching, and they take it in. They are forming impression of, okay, this is how issues are resolved. Okay, this is how you deal with emotions. When you're not happy, you just yell at each other, and after you're not happy, you just walk away, right? Oh, this is how marriage looks like when husband and wife fight. This is how they fight. So before you take this out in front of the child, be very intentional about what is your child receiving from this particular interaction you have with the spouse. Okay, so my direction is always, if you have an issue that you are not able to speak calmly, right, in front of your child or in public, then take it to the room, calm down first, work it out first, resolve it behind closed door. Okay. um and if you and after that, if you're calm enough, you can talk about it. By all means, talk about it in front of your kids. Like my husband and I do that as well when we have a certain issue. So my kids will kind of like, mom and dad, are you guys fighting? No, we're just talking and we're disagreeing. Right. So we are very like, we do have emotions, but it is under control, it is manageable. We are wanting to demonstrate to them that it is perfectly fine to disagree, and when you disagree, it is perfectly fine to have emotions, but it is not okay to be disrespectful. It is not okay to put your partner down. It is not okay to walk out and then don't say anything, right? That is not okay. So we are wanting to demonstrate to them that this is what marriage looks like, right? Yeah. So what to do with the negative emotions? First of all, if you know that you're not going to be able to manage your emotions positively, then it's better to take a time out. It's better to calm down first, right? Because the minute your emotions are high, the intellect is low. Uh, Resolving issues, problem solving requires us to be thinking. And when our emotions are high, there's no way that we can do the thinking part with our partner. And for some weird reason, do you find that your partner just somehow triggers you?
Of course,
Yeah.
if not, they won't become our partners.
Right?
But I think
You
you
know,
make a very
you,
good point in the sense that, because from where I brought up, obviously, is to, yes, settle your issues behind closed door. But I didn't see the part about subsequently, when you have so-called resolve or whatever, you can actually show in front of your children to let them see how do we work through things and how do we work through the issues. I think that part is very powerful. So which is what something that for the children, our next generation can learn and take away. Because yeah, I mean, Asians are, we are very used to everything behind closed door.
yeah,
We don't face issues or conflicts in front of children, and frankly that's what I'm being taught of also. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Or you're just gonna keep. I think the other extreme is just keep everything behind closed door. Right. Yeah. So there is a school of thought where mom and dad are always on good terms and they will resolve everything. So it provides a safe space for the child. I think there is a space to do that when the kids are younger, right? But for me, when the kids are getting older, I we would then begin to be more intentional in terms of demonstrating what marriage life looks like, what resolving issues look like, right? Sometimes we will even ask for their opinions, right? To get them, they are super curious about what mom and dad are talking about, right? And
At
as
what
they're old,
stage or at what age, huh, do you really ask for their opinion? That's what I'm
uh,
curious to know.
okay, so the more direct asking of opinions would be higher primary, definitely higher primary. Yeah. I think before that we
Four
are,
onwards,
yeah,
there about lah,
yeah,
depending on their
they
emotional
can,
states
yeah,
of mind lah.
right, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay, okay. So that we are not biased towards each other lah.
yeah. So it's quite. Sometimes it's like, huh, see, even your daughter thinks so. Just like have it in a fun way.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes my kids will take sides.
Of
Dad,
course.
that's not what mom is trying to say. So, yeah, so
Supporter,
they're actually
supporter.
listening in. Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay,
The
okay, okay.
kids are always watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
question is, yeah, how to work through the issues, and likewise, yes, what kind of even examples that we want to show our children. I think that part is very clear and very powerful for me. That it does help to show that even when we have our differences, it's still okay to show them and to let them learn. I think that part is very strong
Yeah.
in that sense that I do see, which we tend to neglect and we tend to really hide behind closed door.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even issues that's not been resolved, right? So now they would see a little bit more, because we let them get, we're still talking about it. So that part, your mom is still not settled yet, or dad's still not settled yet, right?
Still not
But
happy.
just because that part, I'm still a bit upset, it doesn't mean that the rest of our life is all upset, you see. Yeah. So again, it's about what we want to teach them is, some issues takes longer and it's okay, but don't let that seep into every part of your relationship or in everything that you do, right? Yeah.
So okay, then also moving forward, then after so many years of marriage life, parenting together, then there's always the be it the whatever issues, finance issues, work issue. How do we still continue to keep the sparks in our marriage?
Okay, that's the million-dollar question. How do you keep the spark? So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is what I think. This is probably a good time for us to kind of talk a little bit about the four deadly sins,
Yes,
uh,
that's right.
the things that would damage or that would cause distance in the relationship, right? I think it would only make sense that we would stop to do what hurts the relationship in the first place, right? To minimize the damage before we talk about building, right? So when something is already wounded, the relationship is already hurt, um we don't want to continue to do what's not working, or what's hurting. So let's stop that. Let's be aware of what those things are first. Take ownership, stop that, and then we look at rebuilding. All right. So these four came from, actually, Dr. John Gottman. He is the guy who studies relationship. So basically, his interest is in why is it that there are relationships that work and relationships that don't work. What are the things that the strong marriages couple do that the other couples are not doing? Right. So his approach is really to study and find out what happens in a natural context. So what he did is he actually created this thing called Love Lab, and this is like 30 years ago. And in Love Lab, what he did, it was, he got couples into like a staycation, right? But in US they call it, bread and breakfast. So they're the couple to come in to stay for 2 nights. So what they do is they hook the couple up with all these like apparatus, and then measure the heart rate, and then measure even the hormones in the urine, and they track them for 2 days. Okay, so the couples were supposed to just like live a normal life, right? They would talk, they would fight, they would do their normal things for 2 days. Okay, so they would record all these vital signs, and they will study these vital signs, right? So with these vital signs, they find that when couples fight consistently in one or two or three or four of these ways, he can predict the divorce rate for couple up to 90% accuracy.
Wow, ninety
Based,
percent.
yeah, based on how the couples fight. Okay,
Wow.
so yeah, so when couples fight, like when they're angry, they will like measure the heart rate. When they are being criticized, they will then measure certain things. So all these are documented physically, lah. All right. So he found that there are four things that couples do consistently. The first one he found was what he called criticism. All right. So putting your partner down, highlighting, surfacing things that the partner is doing that may not be a mistake, but just something that you don't like. Or when there's a mistake, we are quick to criticize, and words like, you're always like this, you're never on time, you're not, like criticizing what the person does. right? And you can never do anything right because we're always managed to find something that's not right, right? Um, so this is the one of the common thing where we are very good at fault finding. We are very good at looking for what our partner is not good at doing, right? So even if you would ask me right now to list all the things I don't like my husband, I tell you the list is very long. Right? I think we all have that very long
Better
list.
don't say.
Yeah, it is a matter of how do we communicate that? Is that being said all the time? Is that the only thing we talk about? Right. So a more serious form of criticism is then contempt. Right. So I'm not only focusing on what you don't do, what I think you're not doing well, you're not doing right. Right. Now I attack your personality, your personhood. Like you're not only always late, you're such an irresponsible person. You're not only somebody who always forgets, but you really don't care about the people you love, right? So it moves from behavior to the attack of the person. Okay, and the one that they have found to be the most powerful content is that you don't even have to talk. You just need to roll your eyes, like, right? That's all it takes. And then the partner's heart rate will immediately go up, right? Contempt is it's just a very direct put down, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I remember there's a couple that I was working with. Again, we were doing a couple conversation with them. So one of the things that we got them to do is to paraphrase, right? To really kind of listen to each other. So one of the requests that the wife made was that, I would request that you don't put me down in public, right? And that you don't say things like, why you so silly, why you so stupid, right? So this was what the wife said to the husband. And then the husband said, if you're not stupid and silly, if you don't do those things, then I don't have to say to you in public what.
Gosh.
So this is like contempt and criticism all in one, right? So you can imagine how hurtful that could be to the wife, right? Yeah. Okay, seriously, is that what you're gonna say, right? Some of the things like, seriously, are you gonna wear that out? Like, don't you have something better? So little remarks like this, sarcasm, is very helpful to the relationship. Okay. And then moving on to the third one is what he calls defensiveness. Huh? You say me? You leh? How about you? You never late, ah? Are you always on time, ah? Okay. So we are not open to what the partner is telling us, but instead we kind of like shoot back and then make it the other person's fault, right? Make it the other person has a bigger sin, right? So we're defensive. We are not acknowledging the role that we could possibly play in this particular situation. Okay, yeah. So this is like a common thing that we always hear people say is like, you're watching TV. Why, if you're watching TV, why can't I watch? You work, right? And then you after work you get to rest. How come I also go to work? I go back. I come home. I don't get to rest, right? So sometimes there's that defensiveness going on. And the thing about defensiveness is that it doesn't just end at defensiveness. What happens with defensiveness is one person will get louder, and then the other person get louder, and then louder and louder and louder. So it moves into escalation, by which at the end you don't even know what you're yelling about, but you just are yelling at each other. And by that time, it's too late to back down because face my, I already gone so far. There's no way I'm gonna break down. I'm gonna back down right now.
Now I'm
Right?
very stressed. Out of the three, I think I'm guilty of all three also.
Yeah. Most of the
Now I worry about
let's
what's your
share
fourth
some of
sin,
it.
I'm a bit scared already. Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So it is about the consistency and the frequency of using it,
Dun.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
And the last one he talks about is stonewalling, right? Okay, lah, fine, whatever you sell, you win, lah. Yeah. Or just walked out, just don't want to deal with it, right? So my favorite was the stonewalling, right? I'm like super pro at it. I could stonewall until like 2 weeks later, I don't remember what was the issue already. right? And my husband was the type who needs to resolve it like now.
I
Okay.
think guys
Yeah.
are like that, like the
Yeah.
day or the hour, the next moment, but we are just not in that emotional frame to do
Yeah.
so peacefully, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. So the interesting thing is, if when they interview the partner who use stonewalling or withdrawal as a way to manage the conflict, uh, they find that the person who withdraws does that because they don't want to make things worse. Because whatever that will come out from my mouth at that point would be either criticism or contempt or defensiveness, right? So my way of coping with that is I just withdraw, right? But to my partner, he sees it that why don't you want to deal with this? Why are you always running away from it? Right? So this is where communication is so critical, about how couples can talk about issues like this, and still remain calm, right? Which is something that we help couples to go through. Yeah. But over the years, so these over the years, one of the things that I find that couples consistently or very what is that? Like a better a favorite technique, is what we call the negative interpretation, right? It's like your partner try to do something good, you go like, what are you up to? You know, if your partner says, gives you a book that says, have a better life, and then you start to interpret, what are you saying, my life not good, ah? Or take care of your health, are you saying that I'm eating too much? So we are like negatively interpreting everything our partner is doing, right? So it's like he's always up to no good. So can you imagine if we keep using these way of interacting in the marriage, what kind of impact it will have on the relationship, ah? Right? So this is what they call the four deadly sins, and we plus one more, which is what we call the negative interpretation. Mm.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
four sins, to repeat again in short,
Yeah.
is putting the partner down, criticisms,
Criticism.
contempt,
Hmm.
attack, personal attack. Second thing, which is the roll your eye, which I'm actually quite surprised at, the one on the second one, the rolling of your eyes. I was
Can,
like,
yes.
dots, okay.
What surprised you on that one?
The body language really kills, which I mean, I know verbally, yes, it does kill someone, it hurts someone,
Mm,
but yes, the small act, like, which I find like rolling eye is really a small act,
mm,
but yet people take it to heart so seriously, which is kind of surprising to me, frankly. So rolling of your eyes. Third, defensiveness. Yeah. And
yeah.
then lastly, stonewalling, which is, yeah. I mean, we heard lah. We heard in no particular sequence. But the question is, yes, which I do agree lah. I mean, if you repeatedly committed all these day in and day out, obviously it does stresses the other partner out, right? So to
Yeah.
the extent like what you say, even I give you something, or I give you a book, or I share something nice with you, you also are doubtful, as in what are you up to? Are you hitting something? So which kind of sad lah if it does goes to that level lah, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and as so when there are no ascribing a good intention to our partner, right? It's almost like, the partner is out to, do something negative or something harmful towards us. Um, and and I think very often it doesn't matter any of these technique or this strategy we end up using. I think a lot of times is not conscious, like we don't do it on purpose, right? But we need to know that when we are doing it, it not only hurts our partner, it hurts the relationship, and at the end of the day, it actually hurts us, right? If you notice, I think all these ways is really trying to get our partner to pay attention to us, right? I want to criticize so that, like, what is a what would you why would you want to criticize? Why would you want to put your partner down, right? I think at the end it just creates a lot more distance between the husband and wife, where what we really want is actually to get close. But when we are not getting that emotional intimacy, these are the things that we do to gain our partner's attention, which at the end of the day, it pushes the partner away more instead of drawing the partner closer to us, right?
Yeah, but because when you reach that kind of level, of course, yes, ideally people will tell you go for a marriage coach, go for a parenting coach, or relationship coach. But the question is, a lot of people also doubt the effectiveness of that
Yeah.
coach can help you in terms of be it moving around the issues or even helping the couples to work through the issue. So how effective is it exactly for a coach to come in, and if there is still hope in the relationship to work with as well?
Okay. Can I just be very direct here?
Mm-hmm.
One of the most common contributing factor to marriage coaching or counseling not working out is when the partner expects the other person to change, right? So if you're coming into a marriage coaching or marriage counseling and your stance to your therapist or your coach is change my partner. If he's fixed, I'm okay. That would not be something that would make any progress. Doesn't matter how good the therapist is. Right? So the first step is about taking personal ownership that we, the person, individual, has a role to play in this relationship. How can I take ownership for my part? How can I start to own up the things that I do, the four deadly sins that I have been doing, right? So instead of saying, oh, okay, yeah, I have been criticizing, I've been contempting, I have been negatively interpreting. How can I change? How can I relate differently? Versus, well, if he had done it properly, then I wouldn't have to criticize him. What? So why don't you get him to change? Right? If he's not shouting at me, then I wouldn't have to walk out. So why doesn't he stop changing first? So as long as we're coming from that stance, no matter what we do, it's not going to work, right? So that is where personally I find that counseling and coaching doesn't work. Okay. When does it work? The minute you start to say, yes, I have a role in it. How can I be responsible for my own action? How can I be responsible for my own feelings? And allow my partner that space to also own his feeling, be responsible for his feeling. I can make my request, but my partner is not obligated to meet all my requests. Similarly, my partner is safe to make requests of what he would like from me, but I'm also not obligated to meet all his requests. But when we do agree, we want to do it willingly. Right. An example of that we always use is let's say today you and your partner would like to go to dinner, right? And then your partner asks you, hey, where you want to go? He says, 随便 lah, never mind lah, anything lah. And then you say at the end is okay, oh, I want to go to this hawker center. And then your partner says, yeah, I don't want lah, that was so hot. This time so busy. I'm sure later got no seat one. You ask me where to go now, I tell you don't want to go. Oh, okay lah, you go lah, go lah. So by the time you get there, okay, true enough, very hot, no seat. What do you do?
See lah.
Yeah, I told you not to come already, what? Right? But you agree, what? You agree, what? It's just like, yeah, but then you say, yeah, you were getting angry. I don't agree. Later, you're gonna be unhappy. Right? So even little daily interactions like that.
But how to resolve that? I mean, frankly, I admit I also like that. But if you don't say in the heart, you are still burning like, see lah, I told you already. But how to resolve that?
So it's not even about resolving. Is that at that point of when I say I will go with you, even though I may not be most willing, I already choose to go with you willingly. Right? I've already chosen because it's my call to go with you. And if I want to go with you, then I want to fully support you.
Yes. So you already acknowledge that irregardless there is queue, no seats, you already take that into responsibility as well.
Yeah, it's already your call. So whenever I decide to go along, I do it willingly.
But at that point there when the other partner says, see, I already told, how do you resolve that, that spark already, want to burn already, that kind of,
For what? For the partner who says it, or the partner who?
yeah. Irregardless, because it's easy for the other one to shot back, right? Like what you say, I asked you what, you agreed. Now you're blaming me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do you, stop that fire or from starting to burn already?
Yeah. If that's the case, and both of you catch that moment that both of you are already getting upset, right? Then at that moment you just need to decide, how do you want the rest of the evening to go on? Right? Do you want, or whoever catches that we are sliding in terms of we are going downhill, can the person step out and say, hey, this is not working out. Do we want to look at how we want to proceed with this? Somebody can call it, right? Yeah. So again, if a couple is already in this negative cycle all the time, the first step for them to do is to be aware. They cannot change things that they're not aware of, right? So need to first take a step back and be aware, what are the things that they are currently doing that is contributing to the negative cycle, that's contributing to the tension, that's contributing to the conflict. Once I can identify that, let's stop it first.
I think, okay, I can imagine that the other scenario will be, the spouses will be telling the child, see lah, daddy bring us here, there's no seats, the third party bringing the third party into the story. Now we got to wait, or you have to go hungry for a while. Then it really like sparks and trigger the fire.
Yeah, that's contempt,
right?
Yeah, this is like Chinese, like 指桑骂槐 lah, right? Yeah, you're actually basically scolding.
Yeah, like want to burn,
Yeah. So if you know that is going to make your husband angry, say it in your heart lah, don't say it out lah. What is your point? Okay, my point is, what is your point? What do you want to get out of this?
You just want to emphasize that you're right lah. I mean, sometimes
then do you think he doesn't know already?
Okay.
Right? So it's like, so sometimes like couples like play this kind of like little kind of like one up kind of like position. Can you imagine this is just about a dinner, right? What if it's a bigger issue? Definitely. What if it's about finances? What if it is about making a bigger purchase? What if it is about relationship? Right? Right. So if it is in the marriage context that I cannot feel safe to make mistakes, and these are not even mistakes that sort of cost you anything, it's just inconvenience, right? And to know that my spouse would be on my side, like, yeah, these are, so back to how to build, these are little things that they can build. Things that build marriage foundation are little things like that. Oh no, see, it's okay, as long as we're together, I'm sure we can find something, or we can go somewhere else, right? Solve the problem. Like, if it's not where you want, then find someone. If not, then get your kid to be hungry and then wait a little bit. You're gonna have to wait anyways. Like, my thing is, you're gonna have to wait anyways. It is not as if after you say what you say, then things will change, Now you have to wait and then handle a hungry child and an angry husband. Right? Before, just have to wait. Right. So
moving forward, I'm just curious to know, moving forward as a couple, if they come to you, what is the, like, be it the first meeting, that kind of scenario? I'm trying to paint the audience the scenario. What kind of expectations should they come in when they meet you or meet a coach or whatsoever, just so that it can make it fruitful for everyone and it is effective in the sense for them to move ahead? Because most cases, sometimes I do talk to couples, then they will say, no use one see the coach cannot help one we seen like X number of coach, it doesn't help. So then what is the kind of expectation should we have before we even walk through the door, such that it is making it worthwhile and we are able to make it work still?
Okay. So different coach and different counsels work differently. So when I work with couples, I have a very specific structure of couple conversation that I take the couples through. All right. So it is not a counseling session, meaning I do not resolve issues with you. You bring an issue in, and then I would coach you and your partner, how to work through the issues together. Right? So I will give you the steps. I will coach you what to say, what not to say, I'll give you a set of principles. Right? So when you work through the communication and the conflict issues, you go by the principles. So after our sessions with you, you would then be able to do that on your own. Okay, so it's typically anywhere from 7 to 10 sessions, depending on the couple themselves. Some needs a little bit more time to get a handle of the structure. So in essence, it is a conflict resolution communication structure, right? So this is helpful for couples who are stuck and then they have tried different things and they're looking for something to move forward their conversation. Okay. But we have also worked with actually the oldest couple that I worked with is a couple in their 60s. Right. So their relationship is pretty okay, but they know that there is more that they can add
Do
to their life.
better.
Right. So earlier you mentioned about the passion aspects. Right. So this way of communication actually really allows you to get into each other's world, really understand each other, and it makes it really safe for you to also speak your own inner world to your partner. Right. So in that space for couple who are looking for intimacy to build that emotional connectedness, it also works beautifully. Yeah, the structure is the same, the principle is the same, but the content to which the couple bring to the structure is dependent on the couple itself themselves. Yeah. So what to expect? The commitment is 7 to 10 sessions, right? And the commitment is that you would need to put in the work because the couple does the work. Yeah, we are there to facilitate to make sure that uh, they utilize the principles and the skill sets. Hmm.
Okay, just one more question I'd like to ask is also, being Singaporeans, are we all about ROI, how effective it is. In your experience working with couples, how would you say how effective does it help them in the long run, or even they don't need to come back to you years later or whatsoever? In terms, is there a percentage or something that you do have an idea on?
I don't have a number.
Yeah.
All right. So the ROI depends on what is it that you find valuable, right? How do you define success in the space of a good marriage? How do you define in the space of what is a relationship that's fulfilling? I think there's just been so many research that has done or studies that look at people at the end stage of their life, and when they look back, what's been important to them, what were some of the regrets. It's most of the time it's got to do with relationships, of hoping that relationship could be better, they could have spent more time with their loved ones, their family members, right? So if you're looking at ROI as a more stable relationship, a happy relationship, a relationship that's more harmonious, more peaceful, or a relationship that has a lot of fights, but yet you know how to recover after the fights, instead of letting it go downhill. And if these are the things you're looking for, I don't guarantee that it's going to work. But my question is it worth a try? Right? I with humans, there's just so many different factors at play, right? Do we have couples that dropped out? Yes, of course, right? We have couples who felt like, no, I just want my partner to, as long as my partner does all this, I can make all my requests, but I expect my partner to meet them all, then there isn't a whole lot I could do for them. So then they would decide to drop out. Yeah, of course. Do we have couples who have worked through and then are super appreciative and that it transforms their relationship? Yes, we also have that, right? Yeah. So the question really is about, where are you? What do you want? And is this worth your time? And it really is an investment, right? Of your relationship. Mm. Yeah. So sorry, I don't have a direct answer to your question.
Sure, sure. I think you give at least give us the spectrums that what we are expecting. And yes, it is realistic to say it really takes two to clap, We need to work on our relationship to make it work. Of course, yes, a coach can come in to help us, but the question is, do you want to acknowledge that you are also part of the problem lah, so to speak? So that's where I want to pause here quickly to say, if anyone has any questions right now, if you can't talk, or you can just post or even add a comment on the chat for people who is online, then you can give us the questions if you do have. And likewise, while we continue, in case if there's anyone who is listening and who wants to ask any questions, that we have gone through quite a fair bit, from getting married, the children who comes into the picture, and likewise, bringing the children into the picture when it quarrels, and what are the 4 deadly sins, and how does it helps, don't helps. The question is also moving forward. We chose each other, frankly, right? We chose our spouses to go into the marriage. But having said so, yes, we are in it ideally for life and eternal lah. But then there are times whereby you feel like, hey, time out, I need a break. How to continue moving on is the question as well. And to continue to find the love, the sparks to continue moving. I think that's really a challenge as we go on in today's situation, be it with children, with work, with their studies and whatsoever. All the priorities seems to be coming in together. How do we still maintain and put everything in is really the question as well, which I'm very thankful for you sharing today. I didn't realize it was like so deep into it.
Yeah, I think just to sort of a bit of a wrap up, as well as I think most of us get into marriage wanting it to work out, wanting it to last until to death do us part. And I think for many of us, especially those of us who have kids, commitment, obligations, and responsibility will keep us in the marriage, right? But I personally believe and strongly believe that marriage is not just ever like marriage is not just for a lifetime, but it has to be happy for a lifetime, right? It can be done. There are resources available, but it does take work. It does take work. And I think even from the parenting space, and I think Felicia, you probably agree with this as well. Like it takes work to raise our kids. It takes work to nurture them, to support them, to build relationship with them. And these kids change all the time.
Yep.
And we have to keep adapting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it all takes work, it all takes investment. But the outcome, all I can say is it's definitely worth it. Right? It's definitely worth it. So yes, a lifelong marriage, but let's make it let's make it happy. Yeah, let's make it something that that would satisfy our souls. I think especially for women. I don't know. I just want to the emotional needs for women in the marriage space is just something that's very precious to us. Yeah. And when that is not stable, very often it gets spilled over to our parenting. And a lot of that gets put on our children, which is not fair for them. Yeah. So the last thing, just a little trick to share with everybody, as Gottman says that 69% of couple issues cannot be resolved. Okay, that is very high. 69% will include things like finances, like your in-laws, no matter what you do, they will always still be there. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah. So it is about how we manage and cope. So in the emotional support space, one of the things that we've come to find to be helpful is when your partner is talking about something, instead of giving advice, whatever it is, just ask your partner, do you want comfort or do you want solutions? Okay, that's all you have to do, and then that would solve a lot of the unnecessary conflict between the two of you, because it is about emotional connectedness. Do you want comfort or do you want solution? If your partner says, I want comfort, then just zip your mouth and listen and nod your head and say, oh, I'm so sorry. That's tough. All right. That's all you need to do. Keep your solutions to yourself. If your partner says she wants or he wants solution, then that's when we give our suggestions. Okay. It doesn't only apply to husband. Wife sometimes now also very quick to give advice and suggestions.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think this is something that I do learn along the way. Yeah. Yes, it's really, yeah, it comes to a point that sometimes, yes, my husband also do ask, so what do you want from me? Literally. But
Mm,
not in terms of that two words, but it's really, yeah. So how you want me to help, so to speak.
mm,
Yeah, which I do realize as well, because yes, it's time, sometimes, yeah, we just want to air our resentment.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want you to give us a solution. We probably have something in mind.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same thing when a husband comes back and share his or her burden or his burden, right? They usually have something in mind, especially when they make a mistakes. Like they don't need us to weigh them down, right? Yeah. So most of the time it is about comfort.
Zip,
Yeah, being there.
about to zip up.
Yes. Open your ears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's interesting to know that it's an affirmation that we at least are doing something right, despite we committed some sins along the way. And also, yes, along the way, we did learn how to manage the relationship still, to keep on improving. Lah. I think day by day is to keep on improving as well. That the
Just look
desire
at
to
it.
want to improve too, right?
Mm,
And to acknowledge that, yes, indeed, we are still the partner, the spouse for each other, and that, yeah, through thick and thin we still want to be together. I think that's one thing that's very important as well, right?
yeah.
That we still want to stick with each other and to know that we can work things out. I think that's very, very, very powerful.
Yes. And if you have children in your home, we all love our kids, but having that strong marriage is really one of the best gifts you can give them, right? And bearing in mind that they grow up very fast, and once they leave the house, it's back to the two of you.
Oops. Ding.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay,
So that's
can. Yep. Just let me share screen again to show you. Okay. Um. Okay. This is the our group, Better You, Better Moms. Yep. The topics that we revolve is always about self-care, couple
mm,
care, like today what we have, children care, parenting and family as well. It's always about, how as a mom we want to have quality time, but not feeling guilty that we are unable to take care of the family, the children, the spouses. And also, yes, how to have clear communications, be it with couples, with husbands, with wives, or even with our children. And likewise, yes, moving forward as a family unit, we want to know how to handle our children meltdown challenges, the milestones, when they grow into toddler, the teenager years, and all sort. And our role as a parent change along the way as well, that we need to know how to handhold them sometimes, and sometimes we just have to let go, knowing that they know how to work things through, how to work things out. Yeah, you can join us on our group, on the Facebook group, Better You, Better Mom. And coming next month, March 25th, March, it will be Sophie Hall. She's joining us for Mind Map coach, as a Mind Map coach. It'll be interesting to know, how can she help us as a mom that we need to juggle so many roles, so many things, be it the workforce and as a family. How can we still hold everything together, right? And likewise, yes, I'm asking for sponsorship. If you do have, if you want to support me with the book on the Chinese translation, you can hop on to this link as well, artoflifecircle.com/shop and sponsorship. Okay. Last but not least, if you have any questions, you want to, work with me as well, you can, talk to me on a one-on-one session, that we can, you know, find out what are your current struggles, your challenges in your life, or as even as a family, as a parent, or of course you can talk to Cheesiah as well. Then that's where we can have a deeper sharing on one-on-one privately. And that's where you can reach out to me either through, of course, through my Facebook or through my website. You can reach out to me. Okay. And yes, I just want to leave you with this quote to know that, you know, the journey of finding a rainbow after braving the storms is what truly makes our life meaningful. Because you wouldn't know what is life really unless you go through the storm. And that's one part that we are not willing to go through sometimes. But once you embraced it, you will find your own rainbow. And that's what, to me, I find that what really makes the life more meaningful in that sense. Because sad to say, we are not spared for any challenges. Everybody has to go through some challenges, some struggles in their life, either way or other. Either these struggles or their challenges, we can't miss. Sad to say. Yep. So I hope you all find this meaningful, and I thank you and thanks all. And also last but not least, thank you, Cheesiah, for joining us for today.
Thank you.
Yes, that's right. Okay. Okay, let me just stop the share. Okay. In case if y'all are still online, rather, or do you have any questions for me or Cheesiah, for Carol and Miss J, that you want to ask privately now? Are you there? You have any questions for the two of us? No questions? Okay, great. Carol, any? I thank you. I hope you enjoyed the session as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So we catch up with you on the next session again. Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right. Good night.
Bye.